snap elections designed to be an effective referendum on the region's independence. In Athens, a general strike. This was supposed to be the month that the euro crisis would be solved. But with the markets once again in turmoil, Britain once again sees this crucial market on our doorstep faced with the threat of disintegration. We'll hear the Spanish government's latest austerity plan tomorrow. Joe Lynham is in Madrid. Joe, what's happening?
Yeah, good evening, Paul, and welcome to just about 100 metres in front of the Spanish Parliament. You cannot see it because there are about 5 rows of riot trucks blocking the way. They are trying to prevent around 1,000 or so protesters from getting anywhere near the building ahead of the budget announcement tomorrow. The young people here are incandescent with rage at the austerity that they've had to endure and the austerity that will be continued to be endured in the coming 2 years. Tomorrow that budget will arrive. Today, Prime Minister Rajoy said that he would indeed go for a bailout if the cost of borrowing remained unsustainably high. Well, it is still unsustainably high. It hit 6% today. And of course, the markets aren't exactly buoyed by the sight of violence on the streets of Madrid. Spain is an angry place these days. Its young people, hot-blooded at the best of times, are now boiling with fury. They're struggling to find the future that was promised them. Half of them have no job, and the other half are being asked to work longer and for less. Over the last few weeks, the cost of borrowing for Spain has been falling in the wake of a deal with the European Central Bank. But that has meant very little to ordinary Spaniards who've seen their cost of living and their living standards plummet. So with tomorrow's budget looming and cuts also looming, the anger that you can sense on the streets here in Madrid is bound to grow rather than wane. And that was in evidence this afternoon in Bilbao, as police used rubber bullets against parts of the crowd. While in Madrid, some protesters were baton charged. Tomorrow, the Spanish Prime Minister Mariano Rajoy, who has already raised direct and indirect taxes, is expected to slash spending further, with the health services and education in the firing line.
Not having the possibility of having a future, like finding work is kind of impossible here right now.
The vast majority of people on the streets tonight are calm and peaceful. Most are middle class and well educated. Social rather than trade union networks are the driving forces behind the protests this time.
We say that the democracy is kidnapped. It's kidnapped because the people inside that building, they don't rule anymore. They don't have the power to rule, to change what's happening to us. I mean, things are ruled in Brussels.
Ironically, it was a meeting in Helsinki rather than in Brussels which has driven Spanish borrowing costs back over 6% today. The Eurozone's creditor nations, led by Germany, appear to be unpicking a deal agreed in June designed to decouple banking debt from sovereign debt and designed specifically to help Ireland and Spain.
This new decision from Germany and the other countries affects us a lot more. I'm sure about that, because the real problem for us now, one of the main problems is financing. The protests are not going to affect directly to financing unless people start to think we don't have things under control.
Spain is a young democracy. These protests would never have been tolerated by Franco. But with rampant debts, joblessness and little prospects of growth, one gets a sense that Spain is facing its biggest economic and political threats since democracy was restored.
Well, joining me down the line from Madrid is Miguel Ancho Murado, a writer and journalist, and from California, Mohamed El Erian, CEO of PIMCO, the world's largest bond investor, and a man with more than $1 trillion invested in the markets. Gentlemen, good evening. Mr. Murado, we're expecting Rajoy, Prime Minister Rajoy, to come up with some kind of new austerity package tomorrow, on top of the $65 billion already pledged. It's crunch time, isn't it?
Yes, of course. It will be another austerity budget, and actually not just for next year. It will be for 2 years, as demanded by Brussels, because Spain, at the end of this process, has to hit a very, very difficult target, a deficit target of 3%. We started this year at 8.9%. So just imagine how difficult it is. And in fact, the problem is that we just learned today that Spain will not meet the deficit target for this year. We will be actually wide of the mark, maybe 7% deficit, for example. So it's been extremely difficult indeed.
And Mr. El Arian in California, Mr. Rajoy, the Prime Minister, said today if it gets too dear for Spain, borrowing on the markets, OK, he'll go for a bailout. How long do you think it is before he has to do that, before he's forced by your industry to just basically go cap in hand and ask for the money?
He should come now. He should go to the ECB now and ask for it, for the simple reason that already the interest rates are too high. And it's just, Paul, it's not just the interest rate on government debt. It is the fact that capital continues to leave Spain, the private economy continues to implode, and oxygen is sucked out of all the job creating machines. So he should apply, he should get support, and hopefully he can crowd back in private capital.
What if he doesn't? Because anybody who's had any contact with the Spanish political elite knows that they are telling themselves they may not even need to ask, that the European Central Bank's pledge to buy debt may have been enough.
Well, the pledge certainly has done a lot, in the sense that it has lowered borrowing costs by almost 1.5%. But words are not enough. You need actions. So the borrowing rate will go back to 7 pretty quickly if the Prime Minister doesn't apply for the money from the ECB. The ECB will not disperse without an application from Spain and a light set of policy conditionality.
Now, Mr. Morado, behind you we can see scenes of relative calm compared to last night, although we can hear the protesters chanting too. These are not just the usual suspects, are they? This is a wide cross-section of people we saw last night. Can the Spanish people take what is about to be thrown at them?
Well, this is actually a hardcore group of protesters, probably representative of a sector of the Spanish youth. It has to be remembered that there's a 50% unemployment among the young people, but they probably don't represent the wider Spanish public, which also resents the cutbacks and the austerity, but demonstrates in a different way, more by sectors, say healthcare workers, teachers. They are already protesting in their own way, and well, they are not likely to take it very well, this new austerity package. And as for what you were mentioning, the bailout, well, the reason why the Spanish government is not making the move is, well, partly for political reasons, because there's an election, a regional election ahead, and Mr. Rajoy fears that he could lose that regional election. It's a key election if he asks the bailout before that. But also there's the genuine belief that this could be bad for the Spanish economy if before that is not solved the way in which the bailout is going to work. Because if the bailout goes to the debt, then certain problems that Spain has will actually become worse.
What is your guess, Mr. Morado, of what they are going to introduce tomorrow? Is it a sort of soft, papering over the cracks type package, or something hard that will actually please the Germans who want this to be a hard package?
Well, I'm sorry, there's a police charge going on right now. I couldn't hear your question.
It's what is the nature of the bailout we think Rajoy is putting to the Parliament? Is it just a fig leaf, or is it serious extra measures?
Well, Mr. Rajoy, actually, what he wants is that the bailout would be more or less along the lines that were discussed by Mario Draghi recently.
So nothing new, nothing particularly new in terms of extra measures?
Not really. So do you mean the budget?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Mr. Morado, can you tell us what is the source of the explosions that we're hearing from your microphone? What's happening?
It's rubber bullets, I think, and yes, the police is charging right now, actually very close to where we are. But so I can hear you very well, but I understood you were asking about the bailout or the budget.
Yes, it seems like discussing the political economy of the fiscal policy might be a little bit academic.